Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Decluttering Simple Simplicity. I am Raff.
And I'm Anastasia, and today we have a very special guest joining us, John. John, we've been colleagues and friends for about 10 years now, and most recently we've been chatting about minimalism because you've been on a journey, and we're so thrilled to have you here today with us to chat about that. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I have to say, like your podcast, which we'll get into and talk about, has been hugely transformational for me. So I'm, a huge fan of the podcast. I listen to every episode, and it's interesting because we've known each other for 10 years, but I feel like I've gotten to know a whole other side of you through the podcast, and I didn't know anything about your minimalism.
It's very personal.
and it's like aspirational, it's relatable, and it's so I'm really happy to be here. I will confess that I have a bit of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
When I told my wife I was going on a minimalism podcast, she laughed. And she's like, but she's
like, look at all of our stuff.
but she's looking at it through a lens of decades, where
Right.
the last like year and a half since I've been listening to your podcast, it's been the change is incredible. So she sees that, but she also remembers my decades of kind of just consumerism, and so we'll get to that.
One question that's been burning for me, and I really want to hear as much of a story as you can share, but I want to find out how you found minimalism. I want to know if there was a turning point in your life and I need to do this, and then how did you go and find minimalism?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I hadn't really reflected on that until you invited me to be on the podcast. And then it inspired quite a bit of introspection about my minimalist journey. And it's interesting because, I think if I were to have just answered immediately, I would have said, well, the last year and a half since I've been listening to the podcast. But it's actually been a really long journey for me. So I think in looking back on it, there have been like little seeds that have been planted over the decades, and it's just all coming together now. Like, the analogy I use in work, which I think applies to this, is we help our clients, it's help them connect the dots for their audiences, right? So I think I had all the dots, and what your podcast did for me is it connected the dots. So I started where in university I was really fascinated by Buddhism and Stoicism and the philosophies, and there are common threads about resisting excess and resisting consumerism. And so I had those things and I related to them. But then when I got out of school, I was fortunate enough that I got a really good job. I got a signing bonus, which, I thought only athletes got signing bonuses.
You're like,
Yeah.
okay.
And so
That's good.
yeah. And so I went from like living in like student poverty
Yeah.
to like a signing bonus and flying to the United States and flying to Europe and having like elite status with the airline. So it wasn't that like I didn't buy luxury goods. So a lot of, colleagues would invest in like Louis Vuitton bags and stuff. That stuff never drew me, but I never had a budget. So and I had lots of disposable income, so I would waste it on a lot of things, and I would just buy things I didn't need. And so and I would rationalize it to myself as, well, they're not luxury goods. But it was just too much. Even though nothing was luxury, it was just a lot of things. And then I remember the moment when a lot of things crystallized for me. Is I had seen the movie Fight Club years earlier.
Yeah.
But then I was flying to Europe and working, and I saw the movie again, and it hit me harder and more personally the second time, because I was watching it on a plane, and I don't know if you're fans of the movie, but there's a scene where they talk about single serving, and the person is on a plane, and it's really about the disposable nature of, connections in a modern world. And I found I was sitting on this plane, and I was recently married, my wife was expecting, I had just bought a new home, and I'm like, I'm not with the people I love, I'm not in my home, and I just realized this isn't the life for me, and I decided to quit right then on the plane. And it was a really big decision. Imagine quitting your job when you're recently married, you have a child on the way.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it didn't feel that stressful to me at the time, but when I look back on it, it was a very easy decision at the time. So this is like, these are things that happened and were very significant, but I hadn't really fully realized and been consistent with a minimalist lifestyle, even though philosophically it appealed to me. Because then I started my own business, and then I was like, holy crap, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got a child on the way. I started thinking about all these responsibilities. So I kind of put myself back into the same habits as when I was working for this big corporation, but I was working for myself, but I was also accepting a lot of clients that weren't aligned with sort of my view. They weren't necessarily, I remember one time we had this just awful client that was mean to all my staff and never had a budget, and we spent more time negotiating on budget. But I felt like I had to try to keep these clients because I had, employees to pay, and I had all these other responsibilities. So even though my philosophy was there, I wasn't in alignment because I was making all these compromises everywhere. And I was working too much, and I was present with my son when he was young, but I was thinking about work, and I was worried about work, and I would, all those things were in my head. So these things happened over decades, but they've really started to come together. I know, Raff, you've mentioned you do yoga. I found yoga as a way, I remember just being really stressed, and so I started, and I had some like physical rehab I was doing for various injuries. So I thought, I'll do yoga. There's like a mental aspect, there's a physical aspect, and I just fell in love with yoga. So that was like another dot, and it was very profound for me. And then through yoga, one of the instructors happened to do coaching, and so I did boundary work through that coach, and that was just massively transformational for me.
I can have boundaries?
Yeah.
Well, while doing yoga?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you've
Incredible.
mentioned in previous podcasts about being a people pleaser.
Oh, yeah.
And I found I was a client pleaser. And I would often do things and then I'd be like, oh, and then I'd complain about it while I was doing it. And so anyway, through the boundary work, I learned to set very clear boundaries with my clients, but it wasn't, I originally just looked at it from a business perspective, but then it became personal as well. And I set better boundaries with the people in my life and better boundaries with myself. So those are the big points.
Right.
And then I think the catalyst for bringing it all together was your podcast. And I distinctly remember the moment. I don't remember if it was the second one I listened to or the third, but you were talking about just getting started. And I remember I was listening, I was just listening to the audio, and I was doing something in my house, and you guys stressed the importance of just starting and not needing to do everything at once. And then I rember thinking,
That was you probably.
yeah,
Because I'm like, get shit out of your home. And you're like, just start where you
A
are.
drawer at a time. Do a drawer at a time. Do a room at a day. If that's too overwhelming, do half the room or even less.
Yeah.
and that's what I did. I was looking at a room and I was like, oh, this is too much. And then I almost didn't do it, but your words connected with me. And then I was like, I'm going to just start with my closet. And like, you know me, I'm not any kind of fashion beacon or anything. I wear the same thing all the time, but I collect clothes that I don't wear. And so I had a closet organizer that was full, and then I had to get a dresser for the overflow, and then I had to put my off-season stuff in a different closet. So that day, I got rid of 8 garbage bags of clothes that I was able to donate to charity.
Awesome.
And the amazing thing was I found I had bought the same thing 3 years in a row. You know how at Costco, they tend to carry some similar items that they bring in a certain season. And there was a certain style shirt I liked, but I bought it, put it in the drawer, still had the tags on it. Next year, I was like, oh, this is nice. I bought
This is nice.
same shirt.
You forgot you bought it
Yes.
before.
Not only that, I didn't even wear it because it still had the tags on it. And then I was like, it was an eye-opening moment for me.
Right.
And I was like, what am I doing? And yes, I can rationalize it because I'm like, it's not a luxury purchase. I'm not buying a $150 shirt. It's a, $14.99 pullover from Costco.
Right.
But I'm not using it, and it's filling up space. And that was the perfect example of what was happening in my life with lots of different things. And I just had all this clutter and noise. And I'll say noise because it's not just physical things. It's the mental aspect. So sorry, long-winded answer, but I think that is...
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're here for the long-winded answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you felt? Like, do you remember where you were, like the time and the place where you're like, where like a light bulb just went off and you're like, something needs to change?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then I decided to do an entire reset of my life because that's when I turned 40. So it encompasses a bunch of stuff. I stopped drinking alcohol. I started eating better. I started doing yoga. I went back to the gym because I had stopped going to the gym. And then all of this was starting to transform me in different ways.
Yeah, so also connecting the dots, kind of like
Yeah,
John,
kind of like
yeah.
connecting the dots. And when I was a kid growing up, I was a collector. I collected cans, I collected magazines and all that. And then I started feeling like this doesn't serve my present self. And then in 2023, I started therapy. I sold my house. I got a divorce. And then everything really started clicking, because when you move to a different place, a smaller place, you really need to make a decision.
So wait, did you feel like you were a minimalist? Like, did you identify yourself as a minimalist as you were going through all these things?
No.
Or you were going through these things and then you like, that was the conclusion after selling the house and getting a divorce? Like, that's when you...
I first identified myself as a minimalist once I moved out of the house into a transition apartment before going to where I live now, because I had to put all my stuff in storage and I could only live with 10% of the things I had.
Yeah.
And
So
that's,
then you were like-
then I looked around and I had 5 band t-shirts, 1 mug, and extreme minimalism.
That's
And
the
then-
perfect amount.
For you.
Talk to
yeah,
me.
not to
yes.
me. So then I looked around, I was like, oh, I can live like this, right? And then I felt all this mental capacity, like I had all this space in my head.
Nice. Yeah, I remember.
What
like,
about you?
Well, I was a kid. Like, I remember we moved a lot. So we went from my hometown in Siberia, we went to San Francisco, and then we went to Moscow, and then we went to Canada. And I distinctly remember the moment I was wearing this pink sweater with like a flower in it from Gap. And we were in a rush packing our stuff to move from San Francisco to Moscow because it was like a very dark story there. Anyways, we had to leave in a rush. And my mom just gave me like 1 suitcase and she's like, yep, like pack your stuff kind of thing. And I remember looking at all the stuff and I'm like, why? Why do I have so much stuff? Like, this is insane. This is crazy. Like, what are we doing? I don't want any of this. I was 10 years old. So we moved to Moscow and it was just, a straight road to minimalism from there. For me, speaking of Louis Vuitton, I went to a very expensive private school in Moscow and all the kids had Louis Vuitton because of whoever went there. And I just never fit in. I remember I had like this dark navy sweater and these like black jeans, and I just did not belong. I was like in my own little world. I had nothing of value, like in terms of clothes or possessions.
Okay, so John, what are some of the ways that minimalism has changed your life?
It's changed my life in every way. I'm in my early 50s now, and I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. And I feel more in control of my life. Of course, there are countless things that we can't control, right? But of the things that I can control, I feel really empowered. As an example, something you can't control, like, last year my niece was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer, and that's a really profound reminder of what matters in life and how life can throw things at you that you can't control. But then, of course, you can control how you react to them, right? And I've witnessed like the strength that my sister and her family have demonstrated. My mom. So it's really empowering to see those things. For myself, much like you just described, right? By getting rid of the clutter, it really allows you to focus on what matters. And I would say for me, like, I went through some challenging period in my marriage, but through it, we ended up finding that we were both leading inconsistent lives. And when we looked at the change, so we separated and then we started making changes in our lives. But because we had a son, we were in very regular communication and we were talking about the changes we were making. And what we found was, wow, like we were both leading these lives that we weren't really happy with, but we both want the same thing in the end. And so that's what brought us back together. And I'm so grateful for, like, I feel like I've got my life partner, and I can't imagine a better partner to go through life with. And I love my son, and I've seen his personality develop and emerge. And I guess now I just, like, I don't owe anybody any money, and I also don't really need anything. Like, it's amazing how simple my life is, that I don't need a lot of things to be happy, and most of the things I need to be happy are free or very low cost. And
you also mentioned to me that you became much more organized.
I had 2 laundry baskets, a clean one and a dirty one. Even though I had this enormous closet full and dresser full of clothes that I never wore, the stuff I actually wore existed in laundry baskets. And I would, like, pull from the clean one and then throw it in the dirty one, but I just never folded anything and put it away. My desk was a mess, and I remember every once in a while somebody might try to tidy up my desk for me, and then I'd be like, oh my God, I can't find anything. Because even though it was a mess, I knew where things were in the mess. But now my desk is pristine. My task list for each day is organized the night before. Even though I have, digital tools for organizing my tasks, I handwrite them on I have a Kindle Scribe. So, and I write out my priorities by hand and the night before, and then I review them.
It's because you have the mental capacity to do all these things now, to, like, take care of yourself and your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's interesting that you're always preparing for the day after. That's something that I also started doing with minimalism.
Yeah.
That I now have the space to do that, the mental capacity. Like, to start prepping my backpack or my tote bag to go to work the next day. I put my computer. You start prepping. So then the morning is not rushed.
So I do that too. And so one of the things I do is I go to the gym every morning, and I do a sauna every morning. And what I do every night is I get my swimsuit for the next day and a towel, and I pack it. Whereas previously I was the kind of person that would wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, where's my swimsuit? I'd be running around trying to find it. And so it's just the difference between being reactive and being proactive, right?
Yes.
And I just feel like I was chronically reactive and unfocused previously, and now that I've really found and realized my form of minimalism, I feel proactive and organized and clear on my purpose. And even, I mentioned I do sauna, even though I spend those, the night before I plan, the morning I plan, then when I'm in the sauna, I visualize my day, and sometimes I'm even making adjustments then, but it's a very calm and proactive approach.
That's so cool. Yeah, I find that minimalism brought a lot more resilience in my life. Like, women and men are different, and the way that we deal with stress is also different. The way that things stress women out versus with how things stress out men is also very different. You guys have more of a tunnel vision, versus women are always looking at absolutely everything in the room. And I find that that's what minimalism has done for me. Like, it just made me so much more focused and so much more resilient, and definitely less stressed.
And the interesting thing that you said about the proactive and the reactive, we can apply this to everything.
Yeah.
We had an episode about finances. I immediately went there because my finances got so much better after I became a minimalist.
Yeah.
Now I focus on experiences, and I focus on the people I love, and I try not to purchase things I don't need.
I was gonna say, but you got this t-shirt.
Oh yeah, I got this Sepultura t-shirt. It's a farewell tour. So, and it has the flag of Brazil, so I can wear it every single World Cup.
Yeah.
So this is also my World Cup t-shirt.
Yes, excellent. Multi-purpose. Very nice. Did you have to, like, talk to your wife about how you would like your home to look like? And were you, like, kind of alone on this journey, or was she helping you declutter? Did you guys declutter your home, or is it just kind of your spaces? How did you approach that?
So we have different things that we care about, I think, in terms of minimalism, but we're very supportive of each other. There are some differences, but we've also found ways to make it funny. For example, I like clean kitchen counters, nothing on them. And you know how when you're married, some things when they happen over and over again, they kind of irritate you. So
Yeah.
my wife is the one that usually sets the dishwasher at night, and she'll open the tablet and then she'll leave the foil on the counter. And
No.
I'm the early morning guy, so I'm up at 5 a.m. I come down and I see that foil wrapper, and I'm like, my, can you? The garbage is right there.
yeah, okay.
But I found a way to reframe it. So now I told her, I said, I'm not going to get frustrated anymore. I'm going to see this as your little "I love you" message to me every
Exactly.
morning.
That's a great reframing.
And now we laugh about it all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But in general, it's interesting because when my wife and I met, I thought she was financially irresponsible, but we were younger, and I thought I was very financially responsible, but I just had more disposable income, and I was not financially responsible. And as we've through our marriage, I've actually realized she is far more frugal than I am, and so I think I had to raise my level to reach her level of minimalism. And now that I'm on board, I feel like we're snowballing, and now we're getting really excited about, so we always have, and one of the things I'll say is that it's not like, okay, I'm a minimalist, I'm going to do a few things and now I'm done, right? Like it's an ongoing process. So we're involved in that process together. So we talk, every once in a while, one of us will just mention, oh, I think we really need to minimalize this area of our home, or we need to, reduce here. And then we agree, and then we're like, okay, let's do it on this day, and we'll just take it one step at a time. And it's
Did your son, he's a teenager?
yeah.
Did he take notice at all? Like, I mean, they're in their own world, but did he comment? Did he make a comment?
No, I think he's generally happy with, but he's got his bedroom and he's got a gaming room in the basement, right?
Okay, so basically you don't touch his areas. The way he leaves them is it? Or do you go through like a joint process where you like, would you like to look at your space?
It's evolving, and I think so. As a parent, I'm
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
he needs to make his own decisions and make his own mistakes and learn from them. Now that I'm in my 50s and the happiest I've ever been, and I need less than ever, I want to just give him all that information.
Yes.
But of course, the more I push, the more he resists. So,
Yes.
it is interesting though, because I've noticed over the last year, so his room has gone from looking like a disaster to, like, just about 2 months ago, he decided to tidy it up. And I hope that was maybe just something he decided just through seeing us modeling that kind of behavior. And like his gaming room in the basement, he decided he wanted to reorganize it, and he got rid of things that he didn't like to create more room for the things that he does like. And so he's doing it in his own way. Like I would still do it differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're, again, this is something we're not imposing on him. We're letting him make his own choices and allowing him to grow in whatever way he wants.
Leading by example.
But the rest of the house, yeah, we're like ruthless. And sometimes, like there's some things in other rooms that he wanted to keep, we wanted to get rid of. So we just said, well, if you want to keep it, you can put it in your bedroom or in your gaming room. You've got your choice. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So you came up with areas that are like, do you want this for you?
Yeah, that's your area.
That's a good strategy. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I find that with minimalism, when you're a minimalist and someone in your household is not, you got to give them options, and you got to
Yeah.
let them be who they are, right? Because
course.
otherwise it becomes like,
Yeah.
what is the purpose here? Like, is this a family unit, or is this like you living your own life, right? So
Inside of a house with other people.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you'd like to share with our listeners and viewers? What are maybe some of the biggest lessons that you've learned and that you would like to convey that to others?
My advice would be to start, right? And I think I am a very imperfect minimalist, although I'm getting better. I'm so excited about where I'm at now. But even over the last year and a half, I've felt that imposter syndrome. Like I'm not really a minimalist. I'm not minimalist enough to say I'm a minimalist. But I've since changed in that regard, and I really just view it as, well, no, I have a minimalist mindset, and I'm going to approach each day trying to be a little bit more realized in that way. And I think once I accepted that, and then it's an ongoing process, it was transformational. So my advice to people would be, don't worry if you're not perfect to start. Don't wait for the perfect inspiration. Don't wait until you have time to do everything. Just start. Say, I'm going to take 15 minutes and I'm going to do this area. And then the next day, take another 15 minutes. And it's incredible, because what I found is once I started, it was so easy. You know, like I got rid of those 8 garbage bags of clothes, and I would have thought, oh, that would take me like an entire weekend. No, it took me like 2 hours. You know, I just tried everything on and immediately made decisions. Nope, too big. Nope, too small. Nope, not the right color. And then by starting, you know, it made it really easy and fast. And then the other thing I would say is to view minimalism as something more than just your physical property, right? And that's something I think you guys do a great job on your podcast, is highlighting that minimalism is a mental state, right?
Yeah.
And getting rid of things helps with that, but it's not the whole story, right? And so understanding what your purpose is, like, you know, thinking about that, thinking about what's meaningful in your life, and then what are all the things that compete for your time that prevent you from spending time on the things and the people that you love, right? And to start in those areas as well. You don't have to just do physical things. You can do all of these things, but just take it all a step at a time, and be an imperfect minimalist before you get to where you ultimately want to be.
I think what we're chasing is that peace of mind, that clarity, a peace of mind, knowing who you are and knowing where you're going.
And I also like to add to that I personally have stopped living the life of other people and living for other people. So because I'm the only person in my family in Canada and most of my friends are not here, I'm sort of a host. I have a host situation that people come over and stay with me. And then I had things in my condo that was only for when people come over. And then I started realizing that people come over for a month, and then I live 11 months out of the year by myself.
Yeah.
So when I started living for myself, by myself, I realized, I don't need this, I don't need that, this is not doing anything for me. Because it's always about not only buying something, but maintaining the thing that you now own. Because the buying is when you get the dopamine hit. You buy something, you go, this is great. And then that thing is with you every single day. And then you have to keep it. And that takes away from your mental capacity.
Yeah, I just love what you said there about dopamine, because I would, if I could describe the biggest change in my life, I would say that I was on a dopamine roller coaster, and in every way, like my work, the way I ate, the way I consumed entertainment, and now it is completely serotonin in every way. You know, it's like it's all, you know, I spend time with people I love instead of interacting on social media. I've completely cut social media out of my life. I spend my time playing tennis and doing yoga instead of watching TV and movies and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that the dopamine versus serotonin is huge, and that's, you know, I think where I'm feeling like a lot of neuroplasticity right now. I feel like my brain is literally functioning differently in a way that's more authentic to who I am than it did when I was younger.
Right.
I listen to all your podcasts. So literally, I walk my dog every day, and on Sundays I'm always looking for your new podcast, and I listen to it. That's why I don't watch the video. I listen to it while I'm walking my dog. So I'm usually walking in the woods. My dog's running around sniffing things, and I
You're
you
just
guys
meditating.
Yeah.
you guys touch on so many subjects that have been part of my journey. So I find it immensely helpful. Thanks.
Well, I guess we gotta
Thank
keep
you.
going. Can't.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate that. It's the reason why we do this. Like we're touching our lives and we're touching other people's lives. That's why we do this. Thank you. It means a lot to me. All right, everyone. This is it. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Anastasia, what is the question of the week?
If you're on a minimalism journey, tell us a little bit where you are. That's what I'd like to hear.
Don't forget to find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time on Net to Clutter, Sim to Simplicity, where we cut through the chaos and help you simplify life, work, and everything in between.